We are talking about our favorites, the most overrated, our tip on how we never miss out on anything in national parks. Wait for the end for that one. Our favorite hikes and our favorite activities. So let's get started. We're the NoCo Nomads, Alicia and Kodiak, and we live van life, and we talk about everything that has to do with van life, national parks, traveling, yada yada yada. So today is part 2 of our half of the national parks video. So first things first, let's talk about our favorites, because that's fun. We have our top 5 favorite national parks that we have visited out of the 32, 33, I can't remember how many there are. I think it's 32 out of the 32 we have visited. So number 1, our favorite, both of us, is Acadia National Park. Now here are some photos that we took in Acadia National Park. We did not go there in our van. We went on a separate trip with my parents. So we don't have any tips on van life in Acadia, but it's so worth visiting. It was just amazing. It was unlike anything else. It was awe-inspiring. Definitely go there. Number 2, Capitol Reef. Now this one is out in the middle of nowhere in Utah. It is not one of the most popular ones, but Kodiak and I absolutely loved it. 1, it's off the beaten trail, so there aren't a ton of people there. 2, we stayed right outside the national park, and our spot was amazing. We took this photo right from our parking space, and it was right by the river, so we swam the whole time. There's a tiny little community in Capitol Reef, and we got peach pie and homemade ice cream, and it was just the cherry on top after hiking all day in this national park. Number 3. Now we disagree on this one. Kodiak says number 3 on his list is Crater Lake in Oregon. While it is amazing and the rim drive is so worth it, and if you can and you're a pretty strong hiker, because it's pretty far down there, go to the lake and swim in it. Kodiak took the leap, quite literally, off the side. Now my number 3 is Lassen. Lassen is in California. It's also kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it is so worth it. It is basically Yellowstone and mountain hiking and everything we loved about a bunch of the other national parks, all wrapped up into one amazing park. I highly recommend going there. We had a fantastic time hiking to the peak and by visiting their steam rolls and bubbling mud pots and all of that great volcano stuff. So, okay, number 5, the Colorado sand dunes. Now, they're pretty similar to White Sands, and while White Sands is really cool, it's a pretty new national park, so they don't have it all fleshed out when we were there. But in both of them, you can take your pet onto the sand dunes because you can't hurt the sand dunes. You can also rent sledding and snowboarding equipment so that you can go down the sand dunes. What I like better about the Colorado sand dunes than White Sands is the river that runs through it. It provides some serious relief from the hot sand in the middle of the day. So I highly suggest going there. It's a bit of a hoof because you're on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, away from Denver. So you may have to drive quite a ways in order to get there, but it's totally worth it. And it's surrounded by BLM, so it's perfect for van lifers.
So now we're going to talk about our least favorite. Stipulation: much as the best of list wasn't in any particular order, this one is just the most overrated. So these are definitely worth visiting, but we're just going to say that people hype them up more than they need to. The first one on the list here is the Smoky Mountains, where it's beautiful, it's forest, it's amazing. The hike through there that we did was great. It's overrated. I mean, it's a forest. The second one that's overrated is where we are right now, Arches. People rave about Arches, and for some reason, it's just, I mean, it's cool, but once you see an arch, you see 50. Like, I don't know, it's just not, it wasn't one that's like, oh my gosh, this is the best, we have to go here, which is ironic that we visited 3 times now, because it's next to Moab. We like Moab. I digress. Rocky Mountain National Park. This has one of the highest visitation rates, has some amazing photography come out of it because it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's overrated because you can go almost anywhere in the National Forest in Rocky, or in like the Rocky Mountain National Forest, different than Rocky Mountain National Park, and you get a very similar experience. The hype isn't worth it. However, in Estes Park, Penelope's Burgers, dude, the best burgers ever, hands down. Marshall Erickson in New York City can suck it.
Outside, guys. This is the place. Oh no! I've actually I prepared a few words.
I will eat your hand.
The next overrated one is the Grand Canyon. Whereas it is awe-inspiring, it's amazing. If you're not planning on going down into the canyon, it's overhyped. I mean, it's you look out there and you go, wow, that's a long ways, but it's no different looking from one mountain peak to the other. It's one of those that's hyped up past the point of reality. And there's a lot of other canyons. If you were to go to the Black Canyons of Gunnison, it's the deepest canyon, not the widest, but it's the deepest. And you get a very similar experience to the Grand Canyon, in my opinion. If you disagree, let's hear about it in the comments. So the last one on this is Zion National Park. Whereas this one is amazingly beautiful and absolutely gorgeous. Hype that we received did not match the expectations. We did Angel's Landing, gorgeous hike, beautiful. We did it before they put in the time thing, so it was also a little bit sketchier than it needed to be because there was a ton of people just holding on to those chains like death gripping. But like, I don't know, it's a big beautiful canyon, and I agree it's gorgeous, it should be preserved, but it was overhyped. So those were the 5 overhyped national parks that we've been to of the 50%. So mind you, we'll still probably have some more that we're going to add to that list, and it might bump out some other ones. Now we're going to talk about our favorite hikes. We're going to narrow this down to 5 of them all.
Dude, I don't think so.
She's nervous because it's slick.
Joke.
The 5 that we absolutely adore. You ready?
Yes, I rotated.
In no particular order. Number 1, Angel's Landing in Zion. Scared the bejeezers out of me. Hands down, worth it, amazing, gorgeous.
It was amazing. It was also one of the first hikes we ever did in our first van.
Yep, it is basically people shoulder to shoulder that are too afraid to move. Number 2. Shoshone Point. This one is in the Grand Canyon. I know I called it overrated. There was no one there. We had a herd of elk walk up to us. One tried to eat Alicia's phone. Like, it was glorious.
It was cool.
It was really cool.
Mostly by ourselves. I'm pretty sure that after we did that, they implemented a timed entry system to Shoshone Point.
Sad.
So, do look into it if you're going to hike.
It means fewer people, though.
Number 3, the Beehive. Obviously, Angel's Landing didn't scare us that much. Since the Beehive, you have to climb literally steel ladders in the side of the rock face. Up the rock face.
Yep.
So if you're scared of heights, this isn't for you.
Yep.
But we also did it at sunrise.
100% recommend.
The fog rolled in off the sea over it. The sun rose out of it. Oh, it was just...
much better than the point. Okay, my arm's getting tired. Alicia's gonna wrap it up.
4. Fairy Falls. Fairy Falls is in not Yosemite.
Yellowstone.
Fairy Falls is in Yellowstone. Now, this hike is a bit of a hoof out there. It's pretty flat though, so I wouldn't worry about it if you're like, man, all these hikes you've been given are super hard. This one's probably the easiest. The reason we liked it is, 1, the waterfall is kind of cool, but you also get a viewpoint of the Grand Prismatic Spring without all the people. And 3, this is the best reason, we were followed by a fox the entire time. It was the coolest experience. There was no one out there. We had the waterfall to ourselves for a good amount of time. And that fox was just like, it was just, I live for those moments. All right, now, number 5 is our long, super hard hike that we did in
Yosemite.
Yeah, I know, but like, how do you usually say it? Yosemite. Now this, we went up 4 Mile to Glacier Point. You could turn around and go back down. However, we took it to Nevada Falls, past a secondary fall. I can't remember the name of it. The name is here. and then down through Vernal Falls, back to the shuttle, which then took us all the way back to our car. I think it was like 16 miles. So if you're not an avid hiker, this is not for you. 4 mile is hard enough as is. I would suggest instead just hiking up to Vernal or Nevada Falls. That's what most people end up doing anyway, because it's not terrible, but it is slick. So bring good shoes, because the waterfall makes the steps all slippery and you don't need to like break your leg while you're visiting a national park. That would be horrible. So those are our 5 favorite hikes. At least we hope that you do one of them and see how cool the national park hikes are. They're so worth it.
Top 5 activities. I know we're packing it in this video. Top 5 activities for non-hikers, because not everyone's an avid hiker. Number 1, also no particular order. Number 1, visiting the towns adjacent. They're usually kind of touristy, but that breeds a lot of really, really good art. So it's 100% worth it to go in, look at some of the galleries, eat some of the food. Just be careful because prices can get pretty high in those towns. Notable callouts are Estes Park, Gatlinburg, and Jackson Hole outside of the Tetons. Number 2, dark skies. Now, a lot of parks have a dark sky designation. That means that they put in certain measures for a reduction of light pollution. That means that these are the places that you will be able to see the Milky Way the best. If you've never seen the Milky Way before, you absolutely have to, because it just speaks to your soul. And wildlife viewing. A lot of places you can view wildlife from the road, like Yellowstone or the Grand Tetons or Redwoods. We saw a herd of elk. It was amazing. Okay, and now for Alicia.
Number 4, peach pie and Capitol Reef. I cannot express to you how cool of an experience it was to go inside the little town that's inside the national park at Capitol Reef, get peach pie, get vanilla ice cream when we're out in the middle of nowhere. It's hot as butt outside, and it was just an amazing experience. We obviously love Capitol Reef. Hint, you can also see the Milky Way from there, so you could check off 2 of our favorite activities that are non-hiking things. And last, number 5, scenic drives. Almost, I'm gonna say every national park has a scenic drive in it. You can probably find out what it is from the visitor center, or it may say on the map that you get at the entrance station. Some notable scenic drives are in the Badlands. Totally worth it. You can see all of the Badlands from the scenic drive. And here in Arches, the scenic drive, there's only one way in, one way out, and it's an absolutely gorgeous drive. So definitely watch out for those. And hint, also watch out for scenic byways on your way to and from national parks. We absolutely adore scenic byways. They're always worth it. So all right, so our final thing for this video is, how do we know how to do all of these amazing things? We have definitely talked about this in past videos, that we love this book. It is by Moon. It talks about all the national parks. We have the edition that was the 58 national parks, but since they have come out with a new one that is all 63 national parks, it's so worth getting. They give you the best hikes, the best activities, the best drives, where to stay, how to get there, everything you need to know about every single one of the US national parks. The link for the book is in our description. So if you want to buy this book right now because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be traveling, I need to know all these tips, go down into the description of this video, pick up that book. It's so worth it.
So we're here at Private Arch, the end of the Devil's Garden trail here in Arches. If you guys like this video, if you're still here, type something amazing in the comments like Arches suck or Grand Canyon is overrated, to let us know that you watched until the end of the video, because you guys are all stars. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We love this. If all of this information was helpful to you, give us a follow. We're gonna start doing this regularly, I hope, this time, maybe, probably, and we'll see you in the next one. Laters.